Commander Velthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue and green planet rotate slowly below. His 3 eyes scanned the tactical displays with practiced ease. This was his 43rd conquest, and he expected it to go like all the others. Quick. Easy. Another victory for the Zarketh Empire. The planet showed on their sensors as Frontier 849, no registered owner, no imperial permits, just an illegal settlement that needed to be removed. Velthor had dealt with hundreds of these situations before. Small groups of primitive beings always tried to settle on worlds without permission. They never learned. "Begin the bombardment," he ordered. Bright plasma beams lanced down from orbit. They struck the largest settlement first. A small town near a river. Buildings exploded. Fires spread. The targeting computer moved to the next location, then the next. Within minutes, 5 settlements were burning. Velthor checked the casualty estimates. Approximately 3,000 beings down there. They would surrender within hours. They always did. But something was wrong. "Commander," his tactical officer called out. "They're shooting back." Velthor frowned. That was unusual, but not unheard of. What kind of weapons? Unknown design. Energy-based. They just hit our scout ship. Damage report? Scout 3 is gone, sir. Destroyed. Velthor's claws tightened on his command chair. 1 ship lost already? These primitives had better weapons than expected. No matter. He had 20 ships in orbit and 5,000 ground troops ready to deploy. "Send in the assault teams," he commanded. Down on the planet's surface, in the colony humans called Haven 7. Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien ships descend through the smoke-filled sky. His hands were steady on his rifle, even though his heart was pounding. He'd been a Marine before retiring to this colony world. Now he was a farmer. But today, he was a soldier again. "Everyone to your positions," he shouted into his radio. "They're coming down." Haven 7 had 3,200 people. Most were families. Farmers, teachers, engineers. People who came to this world for peace and a fresh start. But every adult had gone through basic defense training. They all knew this day might come. The human colony had been here for 73 years. Hidden. Quiet. Earth's government had told them to stay off the sensors, to avoid attention. And they had succeeded. Until now, the alien landing craft touched down in the fields outside the town. Ramps lowered. Soldiers poured out, tall and armored, carrying weapons that glowed with purple energy. Jake aimed carefully and fired. His bullet struck the lead alien in the chest. The armor held, but the impact staggered the creature backward. More shots rang out from windows and rooftops. The colonists of Haven 7 were fighting back. The battle raged for 3 hours. The aliens had superior numbers and armor, but the humans knew the terrain. They used the buildings for cover. They set traps in the streets. They fought with everything they had. Jake's team managed to bring down one of the alien gunships with a jury-rigged rocket launcher. The ship crashed into the town square, crushing several buildings. Small victories, but they wouldn't be enough. By nightfall, the aliens had pushed the defenders back to the central district. Jake gathered the remaining fighters in the town hall. They had maybe 200 people left who could still fight. Everyone else was either dead, wounded, or hiding in the underground bunkers. "We can't win this," his second-in-command said. Lieutenant Amy Cooper had been a pilot before coming to Haven 7. Now her left arm was in a makeshift sling. "We need to evacuate who we can." "They control the sky," Jake replied. "We can't get anyone off-world." "Then what do we do?" Jake looked at the tired, scared faces around him. These were good people. They deserved better than this. But they were going to die here, and he knew it. "We make them pay for every inch," he said quietly. "And we make sure Earth knows what happened here." He moved to the communication room and activated the hidden long-range transmitter. It was experimental technology, able to send messages across vast distances using quantum entanglement. Earth had given each colony one, just in case. Jake typed quickly. This is Haven 7. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. Approximately 3,000 colonists. Heavy casualties. Enemy has orbital superiority and ground forces. We are holding as long as possible. Tell Earth. We held the line. He hit send and hoped the message would reach home. The fighting continued for 2 more days. The aliens brought in reinforcements. They bombarded the town systematically, block by block. The human defenders fell back to the underground bunkers, fighting a desperate retreat. On the 3rd day, Jake found himself in the last defensive position, with only 30 fighters left. They were in the old mining tunnels beneath the colony. The aliens were at the entrance, preparing to breach. It's been an honor, Amy said, checking her last magazine. Same, Jake replied. He thought about his wife and daughter. They were safe in the deepest bunker. He hoped. Maybe they would survive. Maybe the aliens would show mercy to non-combatants. The aliens breached the tunnel. Explosions rocked the underground passages. Smoke filled the air. Jake fired until his rifle clicked empty, then drew his pistol. He kept firing until everything went dark. When he woke up, he was in a medical facility. His body hurt everywhere. A Zarketh medic stood over him, applying some kind of healing gel to his wounds. You fought well, the medic said in broken English. For a primitive. Jake tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. The medic gave him water. Your people are in the camps, the medic continued. Non-combatants. We do not kill civilians. That is not our way. Jake felt a surge of relief. His family might be alive. How many? Survived? Perhaps 1,000. The rest died in the fighting or the bombardment. 2,000 dead. More than half the colony. Jake closed his eyes, feeling tears run down his face. Above the planet, Commander Velthor watched his troops plant the Imperial banner on the largest remaining structure. The conquest was complete. His report to the Empire would note the unexpected resistance but ultimate success. He had lost 3 ships and 200 soldiers. More than usual, but acceptable losses. He had no idea who these beings were. They fought with determination and skill, but they were obviously a minor species, probably refugees or exiles from some other conquered world. The Empire would process the survivors, relocate them to a work colony, and forget about this place. Velthor ordered his fleet to move on to the next assignment. Frontier 849 was now Imperial territory. Case closed. But 47 light-years away, Jake's message arrived at Earth's Central Command. Director Kate Phillips read it 3 times, her face growing paler with each reading. She immediately contacted President Alan Carter. Sir, we have a situation. Haven 7 has been attacked. The president's face appeared on her screen. Attacked? By whom? Point. By whom? Unknown alien force. Casualties are catastrophic. Over 2,000 dead. President Carter was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was cold and hard. Convene the Security Council. All members. Immediately. Come. What are you going to do, sir? What we should have done years ago, Carter replied. We're going to show the galaxy who we are. And we're going to make them answer for what they did to our people. Kate nodded. The age of hiding was over. Humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage, and the first message they would send would be clear. You attacked our home, and there will be consequences. 3 weeks after the attack on Haven 7, the Zarketh Imperial Council received a message that made them pause. It came through official channels, using proper diplomatic protocols. More surprisingly, it was written in perfect High Zarketh, the formal language of the Empire that outsiders rarely learned. The message was simple. The unified Earth government requests an audience with the Imperial Council to discuss recent events on Frontier 8, 4, 9, We await your response. Matriarch Shalinar read the message several times. She was the oldest member of the council, having lived for 300 years. In all that time, she had never heard of Earth or this human species. Yet they spoke her language flawlessly and knew how to use imperial diplomatic channels. This is interesting, she said to the other council members. What do we know about these humans? Scholar Tinara checked the imperial database. Nothing, matriarch. They appear in no records, no registered homeworld, no trade agreements, no previous contact. Yet they claim Frontier 849 as theirs, Admiral Krendal said. That world was unregistered. Commander Velthor followed proper protocol. Let them come, Matriarch Shalinar decided. I want to see these mysterious humans who speak our language. If nothing else, it will be entertaining. She sent the approval, granting the humans permission to dock at Imperial Station Omega for a formal audience. 5 days later, a ship emerged from jump space at the edge of Imperial territory. It was smaller than a Zarketh warship, but sleek and advanced-looking. The design was unfamiliar, using principles that puzzled the Imperial engineers who scanned it. That's not primitive technology, one engineer reported. Their jump drive signature is cleaner than ours. More efficient, the ship, called the Meridian, approached the station slowly, following all traffic control instructions perfectly. It docked without incident. Ambassador Daniel Cooper stepped off the ship wearing a simple dark suit. He was a human male, gray-haired and calm-faced. Probably in his 60s by human standards. Behind him walked Lieutenant Maya Brooks, a younger woman carrying a sealed data case. The Imperial guards who met them were surprised. These humans looked soft. No natural armor. No claws or fangs. Small and weak compared to the towering Zarketh warriors. Yet Daniel walked with quiet confidence, his eyes missing nothing. Welcome to Imperial Station Omega, the guard captain said in High Zarketh, testing whether the humans really understood the language. Thank you for receiving us. Daniel replied in the same language. His pronunciation perfect. We appreciate the Council's willingness to meet. The guards exchanged glances. This human spoke better than some Imperial citizens. They were escorted through the massive station to the Council chamber. The room was designed to intimidate visitors. The ceiling soared high overhead, 12 massive thrones arranged in a semicircle, each occupied by a council member representing the most powerful families in the Empire. Holographic displays showed the vast territory under Imperial control, hundreds of worlds spreading across 12 star systems. Daniel walked to the center platform without hesitation. Maya stood beside him, her expression neutral but alert. The chamber fell silent as all eyes focused on the two small humans. Matriarch Shalinar spoke first. Welcome, Ambassador Cooper. You have traveled far to speak with us. State your business. Daniel bowed slightly, a gesture of respect but not submission. Honored council members, I come on behalf of the unified Earth government. 3 weeks ago, Imperial forces attacked a colony world. You call it Frontier 849. We call it Haven 7. The attack resulted in the deaths of 3,200 of our people, including 847 children. Murmurs rippled through the council. Commander Velthor, present as the conquering officer, stepped forward with an amused expression. Impossible, he said. Frontier 849 was an unregistered world. We found only primitive squatters with no legal claim. There were no humans in our records. That's because we've been very careful, Daniel replied calmly. We've watched the Empire expand for 34 years. We've seen how you treat species you consider primitive. We chose to remain hidden rather than invite conquest. Hidden? Velthor laughed. You mean you were afraid? And now you come here with one small ship, demanding an audience? This is amusing. You killed our people, Daniel said. And though his voice remained calm, something hard entered his eyes. That's not amusing to us. Matriarch Shalinar raised a hand for silence. Ambassador, even if what you say is true, the facts remain. Frontier 849 was unregistered. No species had filed a claim. By imperial law, it was open territory. Haven 7 was established 73 years ago, Daniel countered. Long before your empire expanded into that sector. We were there first. Your expansion pushed into our territory, not the other way around. Your territory? Admiral Krendall scoffed. Show us your empire. Where are your worlds? Where is your fleet? You speak of territory, yet we see nothing in our records. Maya opened the data case and activated a holographic projector. The chamber filled with images and data streams. This is Earth, Daniel said, and the display showed a blue and white planet. Our homeworld. Population, 8 billion. This is Mars. Our first colony. Population, 2 million. These are our 17 other colony worlds, scattered across frontier space. The images shifted, showing installations, cities, orbital structures. The council members leaned forward, studying the data with new interest. You have 18 worlds, Velthor said dismissively. The Empire has 89. You're still nothing compared to us. Numbers aren't everything, Commander, Daniel said quietly. He gestured, and the display changed to show something new. Starships, hundreds of them. Sleek warships with unfamiliar designs. Massive orbital shipyards around Earth and Mars, building more vessels. Defensive platforms scattered throughout the solar system. Weapon batteries on multiple moons and asteroids. This is what you didn't see, Daniel continued. This is what we've been building, while you conquered weaker species. We've been preparing for the day we'd meet someone like the Empire. The chamber went very quiet. Scholar Tinara was rapidly analyzing the technical data streaming from the display. Her expression grew increasingly troubled. Their jump drive technology is advanced, she said quietly. More efficient than ours by at least 3 generations. And these weapons? I don't recognize the principles they're using. We've had 34 years to study you, Daniel said. We've infiltrated your information networks. We know the location of every military base, every supply depot, every fleet position. We've watched how you fight. We've learned your tactics, and we've built our defenses specifically to counter them. He changed the display again, showing footage from the Haven 7 battle. Specifically, the moment when Jake Morrison's team destroyed the gunship. Your forces expected easy victory over farmers and teachers, Daniel said. Instead, they lost 3 ships and 200 soldiers. Those were civilians. Commander Velthor. Imagine what our actual military could do. Velthor's face darkened with anger. Several council members began speaking at once, their voices rising. The human was threatening them in their own council chamber. This was unacceptable. But Matriarch Shalinar studied Daniel carefully. She'd lived long enough to recognize when someone was bluffing and when they were deadly serious. This human wasn't bluffing. What do you want? She asked, cutting through the noise. Daniel met her gaze steadily. First, compensation for the families who lost loved ones at Haven 7. Second, a formal apology from the Empire for attacking our colony. Third, a treaty recognizing human territory and guaranteeing non-aggression between our peoples. Ridiculous, Velthor snarled. We don't apologize to anyone. We are the Empire. We conquered 47 species. We will not bow to a species of 18 worlds. Then you'll face the consequences, Daniel said simply. Are you threatening war? Admiral Krendall demanded. I'm stating facts, Daniel replied. You attacked our home. You killed our people. We could have stayed hidden. We could have let this go. But we won't. Humans don't work that way. He stepped closer to the council, his voice carrying across the chamber. You need to understand something about my species. We fight among ourselves constantly. We have wars, we have conflicts, but when an outsider threatens any human, anywhere, we become something else. We become united. We become dangerous. You're outnumbered, Velthor said. We're smarter, Daniel countered. We're more innovative. We're better prepared. And we're absolutely willing to make you regret what you did to Haven 7. Matriarch Shalinar held up her hand again. We will deliberate on your demands. You will wait aboard your ship. I'll wait, Daniel agreed. But not for long. You have 3 days to respond. After that, we'll consider your silence an answer, and we'll act accordingly. As the guards escorted Daniel and Maya back to the Meridian, the council chamber erupted in heated argument. War faction versus peace faction. Pride versus pragmatism. But one thing was clear to everyone present. These humans were not the primitive species they'd expected. They were something else, entirely. Something that had been watching, and waiting, and preparing. And now, for better or worse, the Empire would have to deal with them. The council chamber remained tense long after Daniel and Maya left. 12 of the most powerful beings in the Empire sat in their thrones, unable to agree on anything. Commander Velthor paced like a caged predator. This is insane. We're debating whether to apologize to a species we'd never heard of until 3 weeks ago. They have 18 worlds. We have 89. The choice is obvious. Is it? Scholar Tenora challenged. Did you see their technology? Their ships are more advanced than ours in key areas. Their weapons use principles I don't fully understand. So what? Admiral Krendall said. Advanced technology means nothing without numbers. We crush them with sheer force. Matriarch Shalinar listened to the arguments, her 3 eyes half closed in thought. She'd ruled for 150 years, by knowing when to fight and when to wait. Something about this situation troubled her deeply. The humans spoke our language perfectly, she said quietly. Not just adequately, perfectly. How long does it take to learn Hyzar-Keth that well? Years, Scholar Tenara admitted. Many years of study. So, they've been watching us for a long time, Shalinar continued. Learning our language, studying our military, preparing for this exact scenario. That suggests planning, intelligence, patience. It suggests fear, Velthor countered. Or they were being smart, Shalinar said. There's a difference between cowardice and caution. The debate continued for hours, going in circles. Finally, Shalinar made a decision. We need more information, she declared. Send scout ships to this Earth. I want to see their homeworld with my own eyes. Then we'll decide how to respond. 3 fast cruisers jumped toward the coordinates Daniel had provided for the Sol system. They were the Empire's best scout ships, equipped with advanced sensors and cloaking technology. Their mission was simple: observe Earth's defenses and report back. Meanwhile, aboard the Meridian, Daniel sat in his quarters reviewing the council session. Maya brought him tea, a habit from Earth that helped him think. They're sending scouts, Maya said. The ship's computer had detected the jump signatures. 3 cruisers, headed for Earth. Good, Daniel replied. Let them see what we've built. You want them to see our defenses? I want them to understand what they're dealing with, Daniel said. Fear keeps wars from starting more often than strength alone. Maya nodded. She'd worked with Daniel for 5 years and trusted his judgment, but she still felt nervous. What if they decide to attack anyway? Then we fight, Daniel said simply. But I don't think they will. The matriarch is smart. She'll see the truth. Back on Earth, Fleet Admiral Chris Morgan received the warning from the Meridian. Zarketh scouts were coming. He smiled grimly and activated the fleet-wide communication. All units, this is Fleet Command. We have incoming guests. Let's show them what Earth looks like when we're ready for company. The Zarketh scouts emerged at the edge of the Sol system 4 days later. Their sensors immediately began scanning, and what they found shocked them into silence. The outer system was full of activity. Automated defense platforms orbited in shells around the sun. Hundreds of them, each bristling with weapons. Near Neptune, A fleet of 50 warships patrolled in perfect formation. Jupiter's moons hosted massive sensor arrays and weapons batteries. The scouts moved closer, their cloaking systems engaged. They approached Mars and found orbital shipyards larger than anything in the Empire. Dozens of ships were under construction simultaneously, their designs sleek and deadly. Saturn's rings weren't just ice and rock. They hid hundreds of additional defense platforms, disguised to look like natural debris. The scouts' sensors almost missed them, and then they saw Earth itself. The planet was beautiful, yes, but it was also a fortress. A complete shell of defense stations surrounded it, interconnected by energy fields. Luna, Earth's moon, had its far side covered in weapon emplacements that could target anything approaching from deep space. Even the asteroid belt had been weaponized, with railguns built into the larger rocks. The lead scout captain transmitted everything back to the Empire, then immediately jumped away before human forces could intercept them. In the council chamber, the holographic display showed the scout footage. Matriarch Shalinar watched in silence. Beside her, Admiral Krendal's confidence visibly crumbled. Scholar Tinara made rapid calculations, her expression growing more worried with each number. "This changes everything," Krendal admitted quietly. "An assault on Earth would cost us half the fleet, maybe more. And that's just what we can see." Scholar Tinara added, "They clearly have more hidden capabilities. Remember, we didn't know about their colonies until they told us. But they only have 18 worlds," Velthor protested, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "We can strike their colonies instead, force them to negotiate. And they've stated that would mean war," Shalinar said. "Total war. Against a species that's been preparing for this scenario for decades." She made her decision. "Recall Ambassador Cooper. We'll negotiate." Daniel returned to the council chamber the next day. This time, the atmosphere was different. Less hostile. More cautious. The council members looked at him with new respect. Or at least, new wariness. "We've reviewed your demands," Matriarch Shalinar said. "But before we discuss terms, I have questions. Why reveal yourselves now? You could have remained hidden for many more years. Because you attacked our home," Daniel said simply. "Not a military outpost. Not a mining colony. Our home. A community of families who'd lived there for 73 years. You killed our children, Matriarch. No amount of caution or strategy is worth ignoring that." He let that sink in before continuing. "Humans have a saying, don't mistake patience for weakness. We hid and watched because we're careful. Not because we're cowards. But there are lines that, once crossed, require response. You crossed one of those lines, at Haven 7. You speak of lines and morality," Admiral Krendal said. "Yet you threaten war. How many would die in such a conflict?" "Many," Daniel admitted. "On both sides. Which is why I'm here talking instead of shooting. War is wasteful. But so is allowing attacks on human territory to go unanswered." He activated a new holographic display, and the council tensed, expecting another military demonstration. Instead, they saw something different. Star charts appeared, showing regions of space far beyond both human and Zarketh territory. Strange energy signatures pulsed at the galactic rim. Entire systems where all communication had suddenly ceased. Anomalies that defied explanation. "While we've been preparing for contact with species like the Empire," Daniel said, "our long-range probes have been finding this. Something is out there. Something that makes our dispute over one colony look trivial." Scholar Tinara leaned forward, studying the data intently. "We've seen similar anomalies in our deep space scans. We thought they were sensor errors." "They're not errors," Daniel said. "They're real. And they're getting more frequent. Whatever's causing them is getting more active." "Why show us this?" Matriarch Shalinar asked. "Because we can fight each other and weaken ourselves for whatever's coming," Daniel replied. "Or we can acknowledge That both our species have strengths the other needs. What could we possibly need from you? Velthor demanded, his pride still stinging. Innovation? Daniel said bluntly. When was the last time the Empire invented something truly new? Your technology is solid but stagnant. You conquer, absorb, expand, but you don't create. You haven't had a major breakthrough in 50 years because you haven't needed one. He gestured to the defense footage from Earth. Humans excel at innovation because we've had to. We've been alone, worried that someone bigger might find us. That fear drove us to think creatively, to build better, to stay ahead. And what do you need from us? Shalinar asked, genuinely curious now. Infrastructure, Daniel admitted. You've built an impressive network across 12 systems. Trade routes, communication relays, resource extraction, things that would take us decades to develop on our own. Combined with human innovation, that infrastructure could benefit both our peoples. He paused, letting them consider it. But first, we need to resolve Haven 7. The families of the dead deserve justice. They deserve to know the Empire acknowledges what happened and will make amends. The council was silent for a long moment. Finally, Scholar Tinara spoke. The human makes a valid point about our stagnation. We've been so focused on expansion that we've neglected research and development. You want to ally with them? Velthor asked incredulously. I want to avoid a costly war, Tinara replied. And I want access to technology that might help us face whatever's lurking in deep space. Matriarch Shalinar studied Daniel carefully. You've given this considerable thought. This isn't just about revenge for Haven 7, is it? No, Daniel admitted. It's about survival. Yours and ours. The galaxy is bigger and more dangerous than either of us fully understands. We can be enemies and face those dangers divided, or we can find a way to coexist. You ask for much, Shalinar said. Apologies. Reparations. Treaties. The Empire has never done such things. Then it's time the Empire evolved, Daniel replied. Because the alternative is war, and nobody wins that scenario. Your scouts saw what defending Earth would cost you. But you should also know that attacking the Empire would cost us dearly too. Neither of us wants that outcome. He stepped closer to the council platform, his voice firm but not threatening. I'm offering you a choice, Matriarch. You can cling to pride and face an expensive war. Or, you can show the galaxy that the Empire is wise enough to acknowledge mistakes and strong enough to build alliances. Which path serves your people better? The question hung in the air as the council members exchanged glances, each weighing the costs and benefits of this unexpected turn of events. The council chamber cleared of all personnel except the 12 council members themselves. What followed was the most intense debate in Imperial history. It lasted 18 hours, with no breaks, no food, no rest. The fate of the Empire hung on what they decided. Commander Velthor led the war faction. We are the Zarkith Empire. We have conquered 47 species across 12 star systems. We bow to no one. If we apologize to these humans, if we pay them compensation, what message does that send? Every subject species will think they can make demands. Our authority will crumble. Admiral Krendal, surprisingly, disagreed with his fellow military leader. I've reviewed the scout footage a dozen times. Earth's defenses are formidable. Yes, we could eventually breach them, but the cost would be catastrophic. We'd lose half our fleet, maybe more. And that's just to reach their homeworld. They still have 17 other colonies, all likely defended. So we strike the colonies first, Velthor argued. We avoid Earth and hit their weaker positions. And then, Scholar Tinara challenged, they retaliate against our border worlds. We escalate, they escalate. Where does it end? In mutual destruction? It ends when they surrender, Velthor insisted. Will they? Matriarch Shalinar asked quietly. Did the colonists at Haven 7 surrender easily? They fought for 3 days, killed 200 of our soldiers, destroyed 3 ships. Those were farmers and teachers. Commander, imagine their actual military. She pulled up footage from the Haven 7 battle, focusing on the human defenders. Look at how they fight. Coordinated. Determined. They knew they would lose. Yet they fought anyway. That's not a species that surrenders easily. The debate shifted to Scholar Tinara's faction, which advocated for investigation before action. We need more intelligence, Tinara argued. We know almost nothing about human society, culture, military capabilities. They've studied us for 34 years. We've known about them for 3 weeks. Making decisions with such limited information is foolish. What more do we need to know? Velthor demanded. They're a threat. We eliminate threats. Are they a threat? Shalinar asked. Or are they simply defending their territory? There's a difference. She activated the star charts Daniel had shown them, displaying the mysterious anomalies in deep space. And what about this? Our own deep space sensors have detected similar phenomena. Something is happening out there, beyond our borders. Should we really be starting a war with a technologically advanced species, when we might face a larger threat? The debate continued through the night. Arguments went in circles. Tempers flared. But gradually, a consensus began to form. It was Admiral Krendal who finally shifted the balance. I've spent my life in military service. I know war. And I know when a war is necessary, and when it's foolish. This war would be foolish. You're afraid of them, Velthor accused. I'm realistic, Krendal shot back. Yes. We're larger. Yes. We have more worlds. But size isn't everything. They have technological advantages in key areas. They've prepared specifically to fight us. And most importantly, they're willing to die for their homes. That kind of determination is worth 10 times the numbers. He stood, addressing the entire council. We've won 47 conquests, because we chose our battles wisely. We attacked species that couldn't effectively resist. The humans can resist. They will resist. And the cost of conquering them might destroy us in the process. Matriarch Shalinar nodded slowly. She'd been leaning toward this conclusion for hours. I propose we negotiate. Not from weakness, but from wisdom. We acknowledge the error at Haven 7, pay compensation to the families, and establish a treaty with the humans. Unacceptable, Velthor said. The Empire does not apologize. Then perhaps it's time the Empire learned new ways, Shalinar replied. We've ruled through strength for centuries. But there's a strength in knowing when to stop fighting. When to build alliances instead of making enemies. She looked at each council member in turn. Vote. War or peace? The vote was close. 7-5 in favor of negotiation. Velthor stormed out of the chamber in fury, but the decision was made. Matriarch Shalinar contacted the Meridian. Ambassador Cooper, please return to the council chamber. We're ready to discuss terms. Reen's climb. Unlost Frime. Daniel arrived within the hour, Maya at his side. He showed no triumph in his expression. Only cautious professionalism. The council has decided to negotiate, Shalinar announced. But understand, Ambassador, this is unprecedented for the Empire. We need to find terms that satisfy your demands while preserving our authority. I understand, Daniel said. Let's begin. The negotiations took 3 days. Daniel proved to be an excellent diplomat, knowing when to push and when to compromise. The discussions covered every detail. Reparation amounts. Apology wording. Territory boundaries. Technology sharing. Defense agreements. The reparations were set at a substantial sum to be paid over 10 years directly to the families of Haven 7's casualties. The Empire would provide the names and contact information for all survivors, ensuring the money reached the right people. The apology was more difficult. Velthor argued that the Empire could not apologize without appearing weak. Daniel suggested alternative wording, not an apology for defending Imperial interests, but a formal acknowledgement that Haven 7 was human territory and the attack was based on incomplete information. We can say the attack was an error resulting from lack of communication, Shalinar proposed. We didn't know the colony was human territory. Had we known, we would have negotiated, rather than attacked. Daniel considered this. It wasn't a full apology, but it acknowledged the mistake. Acceptable, provided it's delivered publicly and includes a statement of regret for the civilian casualties. They moved on to territorial agreements. Daniel provided coordinates for all human colonies, which would be officially recognized as human territory. In exchange, humanity would acknowledge the Empire's existing borders and avoid expansion into Imperial space. The technology sharing was more complex. Neither side wanted to give away critical military secrets. They finally agreed on a joint research initiative, with both species contributing scientists to study the deep space anomalies and develop defensive measures. This benefits both of us, Scholar Tinara said. Human innovation combined with Imperial resources could achieve things neither of us could alone. They also established a mutual defense pact, limited in scope. If either species faced attack from an outside force, they would consult on potential cooperation, not a full military alliance, but a foundation for future coordination. Cultural exchange programs were added, allowing humans and Zarketh to learn about each other's societies. Maya suggested student exchange programs and trade agreements. Scholar Tinara enthusiastically supported this, seeing opportunities for academic collaboration. On the third day, they had a complete treaty. This is acceptable to the Unified Earth government. I'm authorized to sign. The signing ceremony was formal and public, broadcast across the Empire. Matriarch Shalinar stood before the cameras, her expression serious. Today, the Zarketh Empire recognizes the Unified Earth government as a sovereign entity with legitimate territorial claims. The recent conflict at the world humans call Haven 7 was the result of incomplete information. We regret the civilian casualties that occurred and take responsibility for the error. She paused, letting the words sink in across a dozen worlds. Moving forward, the Empire and humanity will pursue peaceful coexistence through mutual respect and cooperation. We face challenges in the galaxy that require wisdom over warfare. Today, we choose wisdom. Daniel signed the treaty, his signature joining Shalinar's on the official document. As he did, he thought of Jake Morrison and the other defenders of Haven 7. This wouldn't bring them back, but it ensured their sacrifice meant something. After the ceremony, Shalinar requested a private meeting. In her personal chamber, without aids or recording devices, she asked Daniel the question that had been bothering her. Why reveal yourselves now? You could have remained hidden for many more years. Why risk everything over one colony? Daniel met her gaze steadily. Because they attacked our home, Matriarch. Not an outpost. Not a mining facility. Our home. A place where humans had lived for 3 generations, where children grew up, where families built lives. He stepped closer, his voice low and intense. You need to understand something about humans. We're tribal by nature. We fight among ourselves all the time, but the instant an outsider threatens any human, anywhere, we become something different. We become unified. We become dangerous. Is that a threat? She asked calmly. It's a promise, Daniel replied. This treaty ensures you never have to test it. But if another species attacks human territory thinking we're weak because we prefer diplomacy, they'll discover what you just learned. We don't start wars. We finish them. Shalinar studied him for a long moment. You're more dangerous than your small numbers suggest. We're survivors, Daniel corrected. We've spent our entire history fighting for everything we have. Against nature. Against each other. Against the challenges of our own world. We learn to be resilient. To be creative. To never give up. He smiled slightly. The treaty is good for both our peoples. But remember this conversation if you ever wonder whether humans will back down when threatened. We won't. The Meridian jumped away from Imperial Station Omega 3 hours after the treaty signing. Daniel stood on the bridge, watching the stars blur past as they entered faster than light travel. The journey back to Earth would take 6 days. 6 days to process everything that had happened. Maya brought him coffee. Another Earth habit that helped during long trips. You did it. You got them to agree to everything we asked for. Not everything, Daniel said quietly. The families of Haven 7 got money and an acknowledgement of error. But they didn't get their loved ones back. No treaty could do that. I know. But I still wish it could. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Finally, Maya asked the question she'd been holding back. Did you mean what you said to the matriarch? About finishing wars? Daniel considered his answer carefully. Yes and no. I meant it as a warning, not a promise. Humans don't want war. We've seen enough of it on Earth to know how terrible it is. But we're also not pacifists. If someone pushes us, we'll push back harder. The Empire is still much larger than us. Size isn't everything. History is full of examples where smaller forces defeated larger ones through better tactics, technology, or determination. We have all 3 advantages over the Empire. You think we could have won if it came to war? Daniel shook his head. Won? Maybe. Survived? Definitely. But the cost would have been enormous for both sides. That's why negotiation was the right choice. We got justice for Haven 7, without sacrificing thousands more lives. Back on Earth, the news of the treaty spread quickly. Celebrations broke out in cities across the planet. Humanity had faced down a galactic empire and forced them to the negotiating table. It was a proud moment. But in the refugee camps where Haven 7 survivors were being housed, the mood was more complex. They'd lost everything. Friends, family, homes. Money and apologies couldn't replace those losses. Jake Morrison sat in a small apartment in New Geneva, his arm still in a cast from the battle. A representative from the government visited him personally to explain the treaty terms. The Empire will pay reparations to every family that lost someone, the representative explained. It won't bring them back, but it's acknowledgement that what happened was wrong. Jake nodded slowly. And the aliens who did it? Vel Thor? And his soldiers? They won't face trial. That was a necessary compromise to get the treaty signed. Jake's jaw tightened, but he understood. So they get away with it. They don't get what they wanted, the representative said. They wanted another easy conquest. Instead, they learned that attacking humans has consequences. They'll think twice before making that mistake again. After the representative left, Jake sat alone, thinking about the friends he'd lost. Amy Cooper had died in the final assault, taking 3 alien soldiers with her. So many others had fallen defending their home. The treaty was good for humanity overall, but it felt hollow to those who'd paid the price. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. He opened it to find Daniel Cooper standing there. Captain Morrison, Daniel said. I wanted to meet you personally. Jake invited him in, still processing the surprise. I am. And you're the man who held Haven 7 for 3 days against impossible odds. Your actions bought us time to respond. You're a hero. Allo. I'm a farmer who lost his home, Jake replied bitterly. Daniel sat down, his expression sympathetic. You're right. You lost more than anyone should have to lose. And no treaty can fix that. But I wanted you to know that every demand I made, every concession I won, I was thinking of you and your people. The Empire will pay for what they did. Not enough. Maybe. But something. Why tell me this? Because you deserve to know that your fight mattered. The footage of Haven 7's defense changed how the Empire sees us. They expected easy victims. You showed them humans don't break easily. That changed everything. Jake was quiet for a moment. There's going to be more, isn't there? More conflicts. More fighting. Probably. Daniel admitted. We've announced ourselves to the galaxy now. Others will test us. But we'll be ready, and we'll never forget the lesson Haven 7 taught us about the cost of being unprepared. 6 months after the treaty signing, the Joint Research Station opened in neutral space between human and Zarketh territory. The facility was massive, built with combined technology from both species. Humans and Zarketh worked side by side, still suspicious of each other but gradually learning to cooperate. Maya Brooks had been promoted to Chief Liaison Officer, overseeing the cultural exchange programs. She found the work challenging but rewarding. The Zarketh weren't easy to work with, but they weren't monsters either. Just different. One day, she stood in the observation deck with Commander Velthor, who'd been assigned to station security despite his objections to the treaty. Below them, human and Zarketh scientists collaborated on studying the deep space anomalies. Your people fought well at Haven 7, Velthor said suddenly. It was as close to an apology as his pride would allow. Your people learned quickly afterward, Maya replied diplomatically. They watched in silence as a human frigate and a Zarketh cruiser conducted joint patrol exercises outside the station. The maneuvers were awkward and uncoordinated, but they were trying. It was a start. Do you really believe something dangerous is coming from deep space? Velthor asked. Yes, our long-range probes keep detecting the same anomalies. Then perhaps this alliance is wise, Velthor admitted grudgingly. On Haven 7, reconstruction had begun. Earth sent supplies, equipment, and volunteers to rebuild what was lost. The colony would never be the same, but it would survive. A memorial stood in the town center, a simple stone wall with all the names of those who died. Jake Morrison visited it every day, saluting his fallen friends. New colonists arrived, people willing to rebuild on a world marked by tragedy. They came because Haven 7 represented something important: humanity's refusal to be driven from their homes. Jake watched the new families arrive, children running through streets that had seen battle just months before. It hurt to see them, reminded him of everything lost. But it also gave him hope. Life continued. Humans endured. On Earth, President Alan Carter addressed the world from his office in Geneva. The speech was broadcast across all human colonies and even transmitted to the Empire as a gesture of openness. 6 months ago, we revealed ourselves to the galaxy after decades of hiding. We did so because our people were attacked, and we refused to let that attack go unanswered. Today, we stand as a recognized power in the galactic community, respected because we earned that respect. He paused, his expression serious. But let me be clear about who we are and what we stand for. We are not conquerors. We do not seek to dominate others, but we will defend our homes and our people with everything we have. Any species that threatens humanity will face the consequences. At the same time, we extend a hand of friendship to those who approach us with peaceful intent. The treaty with the Zarketh Empire proves that former enemies can become partners when both sides choose wisdom over warfare. The galaxy is vast and full of unknowns. We will face challenges in the years ahead, but we face them as we always have, with courage, creativity, and an absolute refusal to give up. This is who we are. This is humanity. In the depths of space, far beyond human or Zarketh territory, something stirred. Ancient systems activated. Sensors detected the new voices in the void, speaking of treaties and alliances and preparations for threats unknown. The ancient intelligence processed this information. New species had appeared. Aggressive species. Defensive species. Both types were problematic. Both would need to be addressed. But not yet. The ancient ones were patient. They had waited for millennia. They could wait a little longer while these young species squabbled and prepared their primitive defenses. When the time came, none of it would matter. Back at the research station, the joint team studying the deep space anomalies made a breakthrough. Scholar Tinara and her human counterpart, Dr. Lisa Grant discovered a pattern in the energy signatures. It's deliberate, Lisa said, her voice shaking. These aren't natural phenomena. Someone, or something, is causing them. Tinara checked the calculations again. You're right. This is a signal. Or a test. Something is probing the edges of known space. They immediately reported their findings to both Earth and the Empire. Within hours, emergency meetings were convened on both sides. Daniel, still serving as chief diplomat, participated in the joint briefing via holographic communication. This changes our priorities. We need to accelerate the defense preparations and expand our sensor network. Matriarch Shalinar agreed. The treaty was wise. If we'd gone to war with each other, we'd be weakened and unprepared for this larger threat. Exactly, Daniel said. Which is why I propose we expand the alliance. Not just research cooperation, but actual military coordination. Joint training exercises, shared intelligence, combined defense planning. There was resistance, of course. Both sides had species who distrusted the alliance. But the evidence was clear. Something was coming. Something that made human-Zarketh conflicts look trivial by comparison. Over the following months, the relationship between humans and the Empire deepened. Joint military exercises became routine. Technology sharing increased. Cultural exchanges brought understanding between species that had almost gone to war. Jake Morrison, recovered from his injuries, was offered a position training combined human-Zarketh defense forces. He accepted, finding purpose in ensuring that what happened at Haven 7 never happened again. Maya Brooks continued her work as liaison, building bridges between two very different civilizations. She found satisfaction in turning former enemies into allies. One small step at a time. Daniel Cooper, now Earth's ambassador to the Galactic community, worked tirelessly to expand the alliance beyond just humans and Zarketh. Other species began reaching out, interested in joining this new partnership, and in deep space, the mysterious signals continued, growing stronger, getting closer. But now, humanity and the Empire weren't alone. They stood together, preparing for whatever came next. The galaxy had changed. The age of easy conquests was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and when the ancient threat finally revealed itself, it would find not scattered, primitive species easy to overwhelm, but organized civilizations ready to defend themselves. The Zarketh Empire had learned at Haven 7 what it meant to attack humanity's home. Other species, in time, would learn the same lesson, but more importantly, the galaxy was learning that cooperation was stronger than conquest, that alliances were more valuable than empires, and that even former enemies could stand together against common threats. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not superior technology or military might, but the understanding that survival required unity, that strength came from diversity, and that the greatest power was knowing when to fight and when to reach out a hand in friendship. The story of Haven 7, of 3,000 people who died defending their home, became legend across multiple species, a reminder of the cost of aggression, a symbol of resistance, a warning to anyone who might think humans were easy targets. But it also became a symbol of something else. The moment when two species chose peace over pride, wisdom over warfare, and cooperation over conflict. And in the years to come, when historians of multiple species looked back on this moment, they would mark it as the beginning of the Galactic Alliance. The moment when isolated civilizations became something more, all because one colony refused to surrender, one ambassador refused to back down, and one empire chose to learn rather than conquer. The galaxy would never be the same.